How's it going, everyone? Today, a tale of 5-cylinder heads. And if you know what that is, you know we're going to be CCing the combustion chambers. So, a while back, these are 243, 799, 799, 799, 862. I had a discussion on one of the live feeds with Richard Holdener, and we were talking about the CC of the various heads, and you know, it's pretty agreed on out there that those 799 243s are like a 64 65 cc head. Well, this set right here was done by Phil at Advanced Induction, and he cut them 30 thousandths, and he said they ended up at 63 cc. They run a good business. They do tons of cylinder heads day in, day out. Who am I to argue with him that he cut him 30 and he ended up with 63 cc? I'm confident the man knows what he's doing. These we'll talk about more in depth at a later date. I just got these back, or a set of 243s off a 08 Trailblazer SS, and they've had larger valves installed and some CNC porting. I did not get a spec sheet from Texas Speed. These are the PRCs, and I kind of want to know what the chambers are, so we're gonna figure that out. They're not really ported per se in here. They're kind of softened compared to these and the other ones, but yeah, so that's kind of a need to know for the new engine we're building for the Silverado. These here, they have a little story. These are 799s. They've been milled at least once. If you're familiar with Cletus McFarland, Garrett Mitchell, you know his brother Parker Mitchell. I bought these from a gentleman that bought the engine out of Dr. Pepper, the 5.3 that he started with. And he had an issue pushing water, and he thought it was the heads were warped. He had them surfaced, put them back on, did the same thing. So he bought another set, had them surfaced, put them on, it did the same thing. And at that point he realized, okay, it's not the heads, but I ended up with these. And if you look, so these are the 63 cc. Look at the distance between the valve and the edge of the head here. And then look at that one. That one's a little narrower. I don't know if that picks up on the camera well or not. Then there's a set that hasn't been touched. And then these that have the 202 valves that, I don't know. I'm almost wondering how much they even cut these. I asked for them to be cut at least 30 thousandths. We'll see if they did. And then these are a set of 862s off of a 5.3. I've cleaned the chamber on all of the used heads, obviously, so we don't have anything there. It's got a little staining here and there. I couldn't get every last bit off, obviously, but I don't think it's going to affect it too much. But I know somebody's going to say, oh, but what about 706s? You know, they're supposed to be the same exact head. Listen, if it really bothers you, drop something in the comments for me below. I can probably borrow a 706 head. I can use some of this footage from doing that one, do that one, and we can compare them and end that argument if need be. And yes, they're the same combustion chamber size and all that. So, a little warm today. But without further ado, I'm not going to bore you to tears. We're going to benchmark, starting with this one, because that's a known 63 cc. And we'll work our way through here. Probably the second one I'm going to do will be this untouched stock head I got off a junkyard engine. Then we're going to see what the milled one is. That's kind of an unknown, but you can tell definitely has been cut quite a bit more than this one and that one. And then we'll do the good old 862s, and then end probably with the ported head. So let me stop yakking and get to work here. I didn't buy a fancy stand to hold these, so a couple of blocks of wood are going to be what it is. Obviously this is just a cheap Summit kit. It's not the super fancy one. Got our grease, just some regular old Quaker State, probably old as me, to seal the plate to the head each time. And that's pretty much it for what we need. Spark plug obviously is to seal off that. But without further ado, I'm gonna set up and get to work. All right, so we've got our cylinder head set up on our super high-tech blocks of wood. Keep it nice and square. If you're gonna complain and say I should have bought some of them headstands, they're 20 bucks. I thought about buying them, but how often am I gonna use them? And then I have to store them. If you're that hung up on that, you're probably at the wrong channel. So gonna stick a used spark plug I stole out of one of the heads to seal this port off here, and we're not going to tighten it. From everything I've seen, you just need to snug it by hand to seat it and make it seal so none of it will run out. What are we going to be using? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Good old regular coolant. Oh, but you need special stuff. No. My friend Rob that went to school of automotive machinists said that's pretty much what they used on all their stuff. So if it's good enough for them, it's probably more than good enough for me. So I'm going to be fumbling trying to get this protective film off of here. I'm going to pause things and come back when I've got this off and ready to go on the head. Hang with me. Alright, now that we're off Struggle Street, we've got our plate here. A lot of them, this hole is tapered, this one is not. It's not as nearly expensive. When I say not as nearly expensive, I mean way cheaper than the Goodson and Proform and all the other brands that are out there, Moroso. This was, I think, $30–40, and some of them are $200–300. I'm not spending that kind of money for something I'll barely use. So let's get into the process here. All right, so we're going to install the plate. We're going to take some grease, go around the chamber here, clean it away from the edge with shop towel and off our fingers, seat the plate. I'm not going to go too crazy because I'm going to have to clean this mess off later. But we just need an ample amount to make sure that this plate does and will in fact seal. Yeah, if you've been with me any length of time on some of the older videos, you know I do my fair share of finger painting with some of these tasks, so bear with me. Just going to get any excess that I might have rolled into the edge of the chamber wiped off and out of there. Now this one I'll show the full thing and tell you the results. The rest of them I'll do off camera, and I'll come back with the results after each one has been CC'd, so I'm not keeping you in limbo and I'm not boring you to tears with this process. Got our plate, got the hole towards the deep end, and we're just gonna put it on there and kind of feel around, push on it, make sure we've got that great seal. That should work. I'm an amateur at this at best. I've never done this before. So we are going to learn and do this together, right? Right. I swear, O'Reilly's needs to sponsor me. Okay, how close did I get? That's 64. We'll pour a little bit back. bring us to damn it, that's so close to 63. Let me let it sit still here for a moment and look at it. Okay. 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. Yeah, I think it's a tad over 63. The more I look at it, we're going to try and pour 1 cc off. No pressure, right? Okay, that actually did it. I'm satisfied with that. Now we're going to try not to spill. Yeah, right. Boy, I am not steady-handed at all. Oop. Apparently we found an air bubble somewhere. So this is going to skew our result. Me spilling all that. It does not like going in. It was going in good. And now it's not. Yep. Alright, so I royally screwed something up. We're going to figure that out off camera. Maybe I need to shift this more this way so it's got a deeper spot to go in. Something's not working right. Alright, so per usual, we were on the failboat. I do not recommend that kit. It poured initially good and then it started bubbling out. I took it apart, cleaned everything, redid it, started again, barely got any in, and it created like an air bubble around the hole in this plate here for whatever reason. I don't know why. There's nothing obstructing it, and it poured back out at me. So eventually what I had to do was kind of slide it, tilt the head, pour it in to a point, and then slide it up to it. We got exactly 63 cc, so that's good. We know we have our benchmark, and we're going to be able to go off of this one and know that it's accurate, that cylinder. But you can see there it is, $7.99. They got tie retainers, dual springs. They're just a nice performance rebuild from Advanced Inductions. So there you have that. We're going to jump to the factory head that's never been touched next. I'm going to guess that one about 66 cc, and we'll go from there. Alright, so this has been a huge pain in the butt. Took a couple attempts, but we got it. This is the junkyard $7.99 that's untouched. As far as we know, has never been off that engine I pulled it off of. We come in about 66.5, 67 cc, which would line up with this one being cut 30. About 10 cc per, or excuse me, 1 cc per 10 thousandths that they shave off. I've heard 7 thousandths, 8 thousandths. We're going to go with about 10 thousandths is what I've heard on a more regular basis. What a pain. So we're going to continue to go down the line. We're going to go with the milled head next, and then we're going to arrive at the very end with the 862, and eventually my ported 243, and see where they're all land at. And we'll go over it again at the very end. So this is a tedious process, bear with me. So I've got my next head set up. This is the we'll call the Dr. Pepper head. It's also a $7.99 that's been milled, and you can see it's thinner in this area between the edge of the valve and the edge of the flat pad on the head, edge of the chamber area. So I'm gonna guess 61 cc. That's what I'm gonna guess. So I'm gonna fill this with 61 cc, pour it in. I might have to add 1 cc to it to top it off, and it might be 62, but I got a feeling it may be the same as that 862 over there. We'll see if it's the same as the 862 over there. If not, either way, we'll tell you what it is. Alright, sit tight while I get back on the struggle bus. Okay, we finished the 862 finally. What a pain in my butt that was. I filled it. It's looking good. All of a sudden it seems like it's receding. I add a little bit more. It recedes again. I feel in the exhaust port, it's dry. As soon as I stick my finger in the intake port, it's all coolant. Stop what I'm doing, take it all apart, clean everything, get rid of the coolant that I was using, dump it back in. Had to hand lap the valve real quick to get it to seat in, start over, measured in pretty much right at 61. The milled 799, I don't know if I went over that or not. I'll have to look at this footage as I go. That one's been milled more than 40 thousandths. That one I had to measure it twice, and it come in at 58 cc. So if it started out like 66 like the other one back here, then that thing's been cut at least 30 thousandths twice, if not a little more. So those heads, my neighbor's got his airboat going over there. Just doesn't do anything with it, just lets it idle and revs it. Gotta love the guy. Anyways, Florida man things. Anyways, those other 799s, the Dr. Pepper ones we'll call, those are going to be for some testing here shortly. So you know I've got the 862s on there, and it's been the age-old thing. Well, 862, 706s, that's just the best thing ever. And you lose power, you know, to like 5,000 RPM with these 799s because of the bigger chamber. It's less compression, blah, 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 blah. So now I'm going to put them on at 58 cc, 3 cc smaller. Oh, but that's not the same. I don't care. And we're going to see if it makes a little more power, it loses some down low, or it makes a decent amount more power than them 862s I have on the truck, and kind of go from there and debunk things a little bit. Either that, or we're going to add to the confusion. Either way. All right, got the ported 243s coming up next. This is taking a lot longer than I expected because of this guy right here. Okay, so this was really fun. Unfortunately, my ported heads fell a little bit short of where I wanted them to be. I guess 62, they actually come in at 64 cc. So, not as good as I hoped. I'm going to run probably a 40 thousandths head gasket to cheat that and get what I wanted. Let's see. Let's go back here and kind of take a step back. So, first set of heads was Advanced Induction 799s. Phil said they're 63 cc. After a little trial and error, they were 63 cc on the nose. Then we did the untouched head that I pulled off a junkyard. I think it was an 08 Tahoe. That we're going to call 66 and a half. It was kind of bouncing between 66, 67 each time I did it. The Dr. Pepper head 799 that allegedly, I don't know for sure, but I don't have any reason to not believe the guy, come off of Parker Mitchell's original aluminum 5.3 that was in his car. That one, like I said, it's been cut multiple times. That one, I checked it, and it's right around 58 cc every time. So that one's been cut at least 60 thousandths, I'm going to say. The 862, little trial and error there. Had to relap an intake valve because it wasn't sealing. That pretty much come in at 61 and a half, is within reason. You know, we might be splitting hairs plus or minus. We're going to call that 61 and a half. So that should cover all of them. The Advanced Induction head, ported Texas Speed PRC 243, Dr. Pepper 799, Junkyard 799, and the Junkyard 862. As I said earlier, somebody's going to probably say something about 706s. So drop a comment below if you want me to do the 706 versus the 862. I'll use some footage from this video. I'll measure that head. And I've actually got a set of 823 rec port heads off like an L92 or something. I think they're a truck or SUV, what they come off of. And I've heard 68cc, I've heard 70cc. I'll do one of them as well as a bonus. And then we'll have pretty much covered almost every factory head casting that people use for performance out there. In every way, shape, or form here. Untouched, ported versions, some that have been well used up. But if you made it this far, as always, thank you. This is a little more tedious than I expected it to be. I'm not really crazy about that Summit kit. I saw one guy, can't remember his name or his channel, but he dropped F-bombs every 30 seconds it seemed like. And he used a big syringe from like a veterinary office and would pull it in to where he wanted and then push it through. And he didn't actually have a hole in the plate. He tilted the head somehow and pushed it in and then kind of slid the plate up. And it seemed to work very well for him. I may grab one of them syringes off Amazon and see if they got like a 100cc one for a large animal or something, and we'll try that next go around. Make it a little less messy, a little easier. So, as always, thanks for watching. If you got something out of this, consider subscribing, like, so on and so forth, share. Always appreciated. We'll see you next time. Alright, so I was on the struggle bus yesterday with the materials I had. Some of the results kind of bother me. I'm like, this doesn't seem right. So I'm gonna have to retest one head in particular, which was the Dr. Pepper head, I kept calling it. So I went ahead, I got on Amazon, I ordered these stands. They're actually quite nice, I'll admit it, and they'll be good for lapping valves. Initially I didn't want to buy them because I thought I'll never use them, but I could see them for helping me for disassembly, and lapping valves definitely could be helpful. Make my life a little easier. Could I probably make them? Sure. Maybe I will make up a second set in the future, I don't know. So I got those, and then the guy I mentioned before using the syringe, I think he was an Aussie or New Zealander, I'm not sure which, no offense, either one, but talked about he used a syringe, so I grabbed one, 100 milliliter. Well, we're measuring in cc's. Well, I googled it, and as such, 1 milliliter is equal to 1 cc. So this will do the job. We're going to use the graduated cylinder, whatever you want to call it, beaker from Summit, measure off, and then compare it to this. If they are exact or within reason, we'll go with it. But that was coming up 58 cc. I don't want to believe it's any less than 60. So for my own mental illness, I'm going to retest that one. So hang tight with me. We'll get some coolant in this and work on getting it in the chamber and all the air bubbles out. Okay, so after a little trial and error, I figured some things out, got it to cooperate. As you can see, we've got it, no air bubbles, and yeah, same results as yesterday, 58 cc. So now I'm going to go on and vigorously look online to see how much this would have to have been cut to go from like 66 and a half to 58 cc, because that's pretty wild. This one over here is the one that did 66 and a half yesterday. Was, like I said, 08 Tahoe 5.3, pulled from the junkyard, untouched far as I know. So yeah, glad I retested. Gonna add this somewhere in the video before the ending, the outro per se. Another thing I wanted to note about this that was different is the valves on the intake side. You'll notice, smooth, right to the edge. Here's this untouched set. I don't know, focus, a little lip here. I don't know if these are stock valves that they reground the face and it took that lip off, or if they're aftermarket valves of some sort. Exhaust valves look identical, have this deep dish in them. here. So yeah, just thought that was worth noting. And again, these are $7.99s. It's on the other end of the head. Right there, you can see them, and it's kind of a large font. And $7.99, a little smaller font. Difference between the years, I don't know. Neither one of them has the battery, the Castech, on either one of them. So, all right. I eased my mind. Thought that was off yesterday. Maybe I didn't measure quite right, and in fact, it is 58 cc. I'm gonna clean up my mess and call it a night.